Brought to you by BEFM, Busan 영어방송.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
The economic sentiment for corporations has improved somewhat for the month of April as situations seem to be getting better for companies that major in exporting and, of course, large corporations. And this is definitely good news, but it doesn't seem to be trickling down to smaller firms or regional companies. In fact, industrial complexes in Busan are facing risks of closure, especially as their makeup is still concentrated in the so-called traditional industries. These traditional industries and complexes, they used to really pump life into the city's economy. But their slowdown and even shutdowns are leading to a prolonged stagnation of the local economy. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Friday, April 26th on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. I hope you are ready to enjoy your Friday morning with me. It's that day, the day we've been waiting for all week long, of course. But of course, we have many things to talk about as usual, a jam-packed program for you. Today, our main topic at hand, we're talking about the local economy. In particular, industrial complexes in Busan used to be one of the busiest sites of activity. But in this economy, more and more firms are shutting down their machines and many are struggling to stay afloat. And while this is true for the entire manufacturing sector, the situation is particularly dire here in our city. So according to the Korea Industrial Complex Corporation, as of January, only 74% of the manufacturing plants were in operation in Doksan. And this is 10 points below the national average of 84% and far below our neighboring Ulsan, which has almost 91% of its manufacturing plants running. Experts say that this has to do with the makeup of Busan's industries, which are comprised mostly of small to mid-sized firms or enterprises, SMEs, as well as very we'll say aged companies, older companies whose employees are also on the older end of the spectrum. So what does this mean? This slowdown in operation rate means that many more companies are just shuttering their doors compared to 2019 and this year. 114 firms have moved out of the Doksan Industrial Complex. This means more jobs are gone. We're talking about 2,000 manufacturing jobs lost out of all of the Busan industrial complexes in just 1 year. All in all, these industrial complexes are in desperate need of new influx of, capital and human resources to really get the blood pumping again in the crucial sector of our city's economy. And that's our overall theme for today. All right. Now for a topic. Text topic, there is a rhyme that goes like this. Find a penny, pick it up. All day long, you'll have good luck. So whether it be a penny or, maybe something a larger in denomination, have you ever found money, cash on the ground? If you found, let's just make it realistic, $1,000 just laying out on the ground, what would you do? 자, 길거리에서 돈 줘본 적 있으신가요? 길에서 100만 원을 줍는다면 여러분, 우리 웨이버님들 어떻게 하실 거예요? Ooh, are you going to turn it in to the police? Are you going to look around? Are there CCTV cameras? I'm just being real, look around. What would you do, once you saw the money? Or maybe some people might say just leave it. I don't know. So whatever your response is, send them into BFM's live stream, live chat on YouTube. And you can send them into pound 9050. Yes, that's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free on Kakao Talk as well. You can listen to us through the various methods, the ways to listen to us, to actually watch us on YouTube live in real time. You can use the play again feature on that platform. We also have the Patbang app. We already have a message from Toyoki Nakamura. Waiver sounds good. Am I a waiver too? Absolutely. You are definitely a waiver because we do really appreciate all of the listeners all around, actually the world. So I'm assuming you're in Japan right now, right? Yes. All right. Well, looking ahead to our morning together, we have Casey with Foreign Press Highlights. We also have Laura with What in the World. Our special interview today, though, we're going to be focusing on coming together for the Asia Cultural Festival. And so it's coming up this Sunday. And, the weather, it's looking really good for this weekend for an outing. We're going to find out what this Asia Culture Festival is, this Asia Muna Hanmadang. That's all coming up in hour number 2. And I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:06, and these are today's headlines. AIDS failed to coordinate agenda for Yoon-lee meeting. Senior aides for President Yoon Suk-yeol and Democratic Party Chair Lee Jae-myung met yesterday for their second working-level talks for the first-ever Yoon-lee meeting, but failed to reach an agreement on a number of issues. Korea's economic growth at over 2-year high in first quarter. The country's real gross domestic product, or GDP, increased 1.3% on quarter in the January to March period, the fastest pace in over 2 years. Constitutional Court strikes down minimum family inheritance rule. The Constitutional Court ruled against the inheritance system, which mandates that family members of the dead are entitled to a predetermined minimum inheritance, giving Parliament until the end of next year to amend the law. In a shocker, South Korean football team loses to Indonesia out of Olympic qualifiers. The South Korean under-23 team lost to Indonesia 10-11 in the penalty shootout after a 2-2 tied match in the Asian Cup, which also serves as the Olympic qualifiers, placing Team Korea out of the running for Paris this summer. Harvey Weinstein's 2020 rape conviction overturned in New York. The New York Court of Appeals overturned Harvey Weinstein's 2020 rape conviction on the basis that he did not receive a fair trial and ordered a new trial for the disgraced Hollywood mogul. These are today's headlines. It's time to check in with Haley for our updates today. Good morning, it's Friday.
Good morning. Yay.
Hey, so what would you do? $1,000 lying on the ground. What would you do?
Honestly, that's too much. It's just,
Too much.
Here, my horrible moral compass, which is lost due north. If it's like $10, even like $100,
Maybe.
I'd
What
be
would
like,
you? You'd be like, pocket it?
Recently I did find 500원 coin. 50 cents. No. 50 cents on the track, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna pick it up. It's mine now. I was like, maybe it's the universe rewarding me for running.
Yes.
Yeah, here with thanks. Thanks for the 50 cents, man.
Yes.
I'm gonna try hard. But if it's
Right.
like $1,000, that's just, I don't know. I don't want to incriminate myself. I'm definitely gonna try to call the police or not call the police. Go to the police. Yeah.
And
yeah.
say, hey, there's money on the ground.
I know. It's
Right,
like
right,
only
right.
if there were one less zero.
Right,
Then
and
I
someone
might
wants to
consider
know.
it.
Someone wants to know.
Yeah.
What if it were 5만 원?
5만 원?
신사임당.
신사임당. I'd try. I would try to find the owner. To like look around. Anyone going once, going twice.
Gone.
Sold to me. No, but I would. There are laws, by the way, which we'll cover.
Oh, we
hang
will?
in there for about an hour.
Okay,
but, But
okay.
until then, I'm just gonna say, in a world with no laws, it's all coming in my pocket. But as a civilized human who would like to
Yes.
avoid jail for the rest or fines, yeah, there are laws. Oh, laws.
Yes, well, thanks for being so honest. We're going to talk about the impact of the doctor's walkout. It's becoming more and more evident here in Busan, right?
Unfortunately so. So
Yes.
now it's affecting children's hospitals. The pediatrics emergency room at Busan National University's Children's Hospital will stop parts of its nighttime treatment starting May 6th. So this is due to, number one, the government's dispatched public doctors ending their contracted work period starting next month, and they're seeing a decline in their usual staff as well. So the PNU Hospital's Children's Hospital emergency room will not take patients every Monday and Tuesday nights, specifically from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. the following morning.
Okay.
So this emergency room, like all emergency rooms are, they're usually in operation 24/7. But starting next month, 2 of the contracted doctors will move to a different ward, and there is actually no trainee doctor there to begin with. So this is actually not completely directly related to the walkout
Right.
because there was no doctor to walk out, but ultimately there being a lack of doctors, number one, in regional and essential medicine. So, yeah, the exact closing dates may change because the hospital is still going through discussions over the detail. However, as this is the designated and dedicated children's emergency room in Yeongnam, Busan and Yangsan cities are going to come up with solutions.
The irony, May 5th being Children's Day.
Right, and the
starting
day
May 6th.
after that, right, unfortunately.
All right, next up, travel demand has recovered to almost pre-pandemic levels, which means that, airports are really, really busy. And time for this, Kimhae International Airport is opening up a new extended terminal.
Right, so good news. The international terminal at Kimhae International Airport, they're finally opening a new extension today after a 5-year-long construction. And the Korea Airport Corporation held an opening ceremony earlier this week. And Busan City says that this will expand the maximum capacity for international flight passengers from 6.3 million per year to 8.3 million. So they're adding on 2 million and up to 11.5 million, depending on the service levels. So they've created a new entry port for the international terminal with 11 immigration windows and 2 extra baggage claim docks. And if you've ever been, especially this time, from 6 a.m. to the 9 a.m. slot is crazy.
Yes.
It is hectic. I've touched down on a 6:30 flight, and definitely my flight has had to share the baggage carousel with like 2 to 3 other flights because of
gosh.
congestion.
Right.
And I have family members who have really taken up traveling, and their flights all land at this time because Kimhae not being a 24-hour airport, all
Sure.
flights have to wait until 6 a.m. to just all land.
Yes.
So this will vastly improve user convenience until Kadok Airport is completed at the end of 2029 and especially help with overcrowdedness. By the way, South Korea won the rights to launch flights to Jakarta and Bali, Indonesia, and Busan City is focusing on on winning at least one or both of these flights to Busan, to Kimhae. So definitely having an extended terminal will help with that case.
Right. And speaking of which, a long holiday is coming up here in Korea, early May. But an even longer holiday is coming up in Japan and China. So it seems that Busan may get a boost in tourism.
Right. So if we can't take 10 days off of work, we at least like other people to come to Busan and
Yes.
boost the local economy. So Japan has so-called a Golden Week, and China's Labor Day holiday. They're overlapping in this late April to early May period.
Okay.
And Busan's hoping to see, and they're expecting to see a spike in foreign tourists. So for Japan, it has a series of national holidays starting tomorrow. I mean, of course, tomorrow being a Saturday. 29th is Showa Day. May 3rd, Constitution Day to their Children's Day on May 5th. So if Japanese workers are strategically using their vacation days, one can get a maximum of 10 days off.
Nice.
Right. And in China, their annual 5-day Labor Day holiday begins on May 1st. So the Busan Tourism organization is expecting up to 30,000 visitors to Busan just during this period. So local airline and hotel industries are reporting about a 30% increase in their usual sales and reservations. So they're implementing various measures and dispatching additional personnel to prepare for this. Also, the BTO, the tourism organization, is holding welcome ceremonies at Kimhae International Airport and also the passenger ferry terminal, including handing out tickets to major tourist attractions. So yeah, don't miss out.
All right, and let's be welcoming if we see tourists smile. Yes. Lastly, the Gijang Seaweed Festival is back. Oh, yay.
Yay, for tourists and locals alike. According to Gijang County, the 11th Seaweed and Kelp, the 미역다시축제, it is back after a 5-year hiatus.
Yes.
So the seaweed from Gijang is famous. It is really famous, and it's been famous since the Joseon Dynasty, being the choice of seaweed for kings. And Gijang's oceans, apparently they have fast algal activity and thus a rapid circulation of nutrients, which makes for a rich environment for seaweed farming.
Okay.
And I know seaweed prices have been quite high recently, so this will be a great opportunity for you to do some shopping and maybe stock up. And the festival had been put on hold for 5 years, first due to the pandemic, and last year because of the aging population of the village. They just didn't have enough people to put on the show, but they prepared early. So it's going to be a fun festival featuring singing competitions, seaweed digging experiences, various performances, cooking demonstrations, and a fireworks show.
Ooh, sounds like a lot of fun. I'm glad it's back. So thank you for all the updates, Haley. Now it is time, real quick. If you found $1,000 on the ground, what would you do with it? And I do want to read this one real quick because William, by the way, William first went in today. During COVID, I found a discarded shopping bag on the sidewalk with $260 inside. I spent half of it in my mind before my wife, Pam, shamed me into taking it to the police station. And, oh, William, yeah, Pam is such a lovely woman. But no, I understand, the 갈등, the wavering of like, what should I do with it? And in your mind, hey, you can fantasize, can't you? Well, here's your traffic and weather. It is now 7:16 on this Friday morning. Let's take a look at the traffic. There's some congestion on from Manduk intersection to Namhae Expressway and Nakdong Bridge right now. It's slow on the Dongso overpass from Hwangyang interchange to the old Kaegum toll gate. So compared to a couple days yesterday, also a little slower. However, slower in terms of, let me back that up, meaning there's not as much congestion. All right, so for the weather, it's currently 14 degrees under cloudy skies. It's expected to go up to 22 today, so slightly cooler in terms of the high than yesterday. Looking at the weekend, though, beautiful sunny day expected tomorrow with a low of 13, a high of 26, and apparently that's going to continue through Sunday, so enjoy the spring weather this weekend before it gets really too hot. This was your traffic and weather.
Check this out.
This is Morning Wave Busan.
Everybody, wait a minute.
This is Morning Wave.
Morning Wave.
You are listening to
Morning Wave.
Morning Wave in Busan.
What show is this?
This is Morning Wave in Busan.
Here we go.
Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for News Digest, which means Haley's still here. So, Haley, what do you think about, what William was saying about Pam?
I love the Pams and the laws of the land forcing us to be honest.
Right?
I agree with you, William. I mean, that money is gone in my head. But
In reality.
However.
Yes. All right. Yesterday was supposed to be the day when the resignations for medical professors were to take effect. What did it actually look like on the scene, though?
Right. So despite these warnings that doctors or the professors may leave the scene, there haven't been significant moves of actually professors leaving their post. However, others say that professors didn't turn in their resignation letters all at once on the same day, so the effects may be distributed throughout. So we're definitely going to have to keep our eyes on the situation. And there are also cases where the professors' emergency committees kept the resignation letters instead of turning it into the hospital or the university. So in that case, that's also kind of iffy in terms of the legality of the issue, so it'll differ on a case-by-case basis. However, the weekly day off announcements are still coming in. For Yonsei Severance hospitals, they announced that they will stop all outpatient treatments and surgeries on April 30th. So Severance now joins Seoul National University Hospital, Seoul Asan, and Samsung Seoul hospitals in the so-called Big Five, taking 1 day a week off.
Yes. As this is going on, the government's Medical Reform Special Committee launched, right?
Right, it did. So the Health Ministry held its first special committee meeting under Chairman No Yeon-hong, but it was actually held without participation from the doctors' associations, namely the Korea Medical Association and the Korea Intern Residents Association, the top two trainee doctors and doctors groups. But in any case, the meeting agenda included briefings on the background of the medical reform, achievements thus far, and operational plans for the special committee. So this special committee, by the way, it's a direct presidential committee to advise the president and also to come up with a roadmap on the top tasks for medical reform and to gather input on matters that still need social consensus, also mediating conflict. But the problem is it's hard to gain consensus and mediate conflict if half of the parties of interest are not present. So Chairman No Yeon-hong called on these parties, the KMA and KIRA, Kira, to join them to come up with solutions together.
Yeah, so this is, in terms of what's going on with the whole situation, I mean, it's like day in and day out, we get all these like daily updates. So I don't know, hopefully we get some sort of movement on the issue. But let's move on for now because we're going to talk about Statistics Korea releasing the 2023 Korea Safety Report. This happened yesterday. Can we go over the main points?
Right, so this is kind of like a progress report of how we're doing as a country, as a safe society. All right, so first, the dark issue, suicide. We did see a 3.2% decrease in suicide rates. However, South Korea still does have the highest suicide rate out of all OECD nations, because even if we are docking down the suicide rates, we're the only country to have over 20 suicides for every 100,000 people, 25.2 to be precise.
Okay.
And in second place was Lithuania, and that drops down to 18.5. So we still have a lot.
There's a big gap between for
There's a big gap. So we still have a lot to cover in terms of figuring out the cause and solutions. Also, pollution, the highest fine dust levels or particulate matter of 2.5 out of all OECD nations. That was followed by Chile and Turkey. And interestingly, our neighbor Japan's fine dust level was only half of Korea's. So domestic and international causes for that with the global atmosphere. And then moving on to sexual assault, a near 26% increase in sexual crimes. And the highest problem was harassment, followed by sexual crimes using telecommunication or digital devices, and in third place, rape. But there's increased awareness, and also more people are reporting these crimes. So that leads to an increase in reporting, but still there are still many of these cases going on. And also, sadly, rebound in drinking as well, with 54% of the public reporting that they drank at least once a month in the past year. Well, okay, that is fine, but 3.3% said that they have driven drunk.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
so,
a no.
Right, so, and that's actually a plateau or stagnation depending on how you look at it, because the drunk driving, at least the response to drunk driving had been decreasing, but now we're kind of reaching a stagnation. It's not going down. And we would like to see that to zero. So that means that we still need to increase and boost public awareness campaigns on dangers of drunk driving.
Overall, well, at least the top point is not such great
Not
news.
great.
All right, next. It is midterm season in schools, and study cafes are quite popular. But, there's been a consumer warning regarding these establishments. So what is this about?
Right. So according to the Korea Consumer Agency, the KCA, it has received 173 damages reports regarding study cafes between the years of 2021 and 23, and that figure's been on the rise every year.
Okay.
And the problem is with refunds or excessive penalties for cancellations. And there also not being clear information posted about refunds or cancellations. Because the thing is, most of these study cafes are unmanned and the payments are done on the kiosks. And if you pay, the door will automatically unlock to let you in. And the thing is, you do usually pay by the hour, but for students, there are these subscription or bulk purchase programs. You pay monthly or you purchase like 100 hours. And this is where we have some refund issues because the bulk programs, they can cost you up to 100,000 won.
Yes.
So the KCA's Daejeon, Sejong, and Chungcheong office surveyed the 35 study cafes in the Daejeon area, and apparently 24 of them did not give refund information on the kiosks. And actually 13 of these establishments don't give refunds.
Like, at all?
At all.
Oh.
Or at least it says they don't. So the consumer agency advised people to look thoroughly through the terms and conditions when you do buy these monthly or bulk purchasing programs. Also, if you are paying, and this is just good advice on anything, for anything over 200,000 won, use your credit card installment, the monthly installment 할부. So at least if there are problems, you can call your credit card company to cancel rest of the installments.
Interesting. That's a good tip.
Right.
Yes,
right,
yes.
yeah.
But unfortunately, these are like, not always, but lots of young people who use mom and dad's credit card.
Right,
We're
right.
not really thinking too much about reading
Exactly.
the fine print,
So
right?
mostly parents be aware is that,
Yes.
there could be some cancellation issues or refund issues.
Yes. All right. Lastly, as the U.S. presidential election is well underway, countries are laying down the groundwork for the future administration of still the most powerful country in the world.
Right. So it's a dilemma for many countries because this very tight presidential race going on between Biden and Trump means that you kind of have to both prepare for Biden part 2 or Trump part 2.
Right.
And they're vastly different people, policies, and whatnot. And especially Trump part 2 because that will be kind of a more unpredictable administration, even compared to his first term, especially in terms of the economy, America First, economic policy, and diplomacy. So many countries, according to Reuters, are kind of quote-unquote courting Trump already. So for one, Germany's kind of doing this interesting move of networking on state levels in anticipation for Trump part 2 because they were hit with a high automobile tariff, and it's networking with red states, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Alabama, where BMW also has its bases. So in case, and also Trump was very critical of Germany in terms of EU and NATO spending. So yeah, they're going to try to kind of cater to his more grassroots bases. And then Mexico, definitely in a much more direct situation because it's so close to geographically to the U.S. and also diplomatically, economically, several fronts from immigration to the drug war. Interestingly, so Mexico is currently going through its own presidential race as well, but the favorite to win, she's considering 2 foreign minister candidates, one in case Biden wins, another in case Trump wins. So she already has 2 candidates on dock. Japan is also looking to bring back bureaucrats and officials that served in the government while Trump was in office, so they already have a rapport with him.
Sure.
Key officials have also been meeting with Trump, including Argentina's President Javier Milei, the Polish president, Andrzej Duda, among others. And what about South Korea?
Yes.
We're going more low-key, said Reuters, going into stealth mode and using lobbyists rather than just outright contacts on government levels, considering, well, there is another person in Oval Office right now.
Right. I mean, and we'll see what happens.
Right.
There's a lot going on legally with Trump, too. So
that, too.
That might affect the election. Anyhow, thank you for going over all the news items. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
And with that, let's get to our first song. This is Boom 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 by Roy Kim.
봄봄봄 봄이 왔네요. 우리가 처음 만났던 그때 향기 그대로, 그때가 앉아 있었던 그 벤치 옆에 나무도 아직도 남아있네요. 살아가다 보면 잊혀질 거라 했지만 그 말을 하며 안 될 거란 걸 알고 있었어. 널 처음 본 순간 나는 바로 알았지 그대여 나와 함께 해줘 이 봄이 가기 전에 다시 봄이 왔네요 그대 없었던 내 가슴 시렸던 겨울을 지나 또 벚꽃잎이 피어나듯이 다시 이 벤치에 앉아 추억을 그려보네요 사랑하다 보면 무뎌질 때도 있지만 그 시간마저 사랑이란 걸 이제 알았어 그대여 너를 처음 본 순간 나는 바로 알았지 그대여 나와 함께 해줘 이 봄이 가기 전에 우리 그만 참아요 이제 더 이상은 망설이지 마요 아팠던 날들은 이제 뒤로 하고 말할 거예요 그대여 너를 처음 본 순간 나는 바로 알았지 그대여 나와 함께 해줘 이 봄이 가기 전에
Welcome back. Every spring we got to play that song by Roy Kim, right? It is now 7:31 on this beautiful Friday morning. Every Friday is beautiful, whether there is there could be a typhoon, and I would still say it's beautiful because it's Friday. TGIF, as many of our listeners are saying. We're talking about the various issues with Busan's industrial complexes, and a lot of these manufacturing companies are deeply impacted by the geopolitical situations and, economic fallout from those situations. The rise in raw material costs means that their financial burdens are growing. And on top of that, the high interest rates make even government support loans unaffordable. For others, their isolated locations make it hard for the firms to keep their employees. In places like Hwaedong and Seokdae, the industrial complexes are located on the outskirts of the city with really narrow, rough roads leading up to the companies. This leads to a variety of issues for the employees, ranging from things like parking, where they have to double park on the streets, with a lack of any convenient facilities or restaurants around their workplace. And these firms say that they need deregulation measures to bring some level of activity and improve the working conditions there. And when it comes to the global economy, there really isn't much that companies or sometimes even the government can do. But, when it comes to bringing back some life into these industrial complexes domestically and here locally, don't we need more for the business owners and ultimately the workers that work at these businesses as well? And in particular, today talking about these industrial complexes. So that is a conundrum. Leaving that there for now, let's talk about our topic. Find a penny, pick it up. All day long, you'll have good luck. It's a fun little rhyme in English. So simply put, if you found $1,000 on the ground, and the caveat being there's no CCTV camera, so you look around, what would you do? 자, 길거리에서 돈 주워 본 적이 있는지 우선 묻는 거고요. 근데 길에서 상상만 해도 기쁘지 않아요? 100만 원을 줍는 거예요. 줍는데 여러분은 어떻게 하실 건가요? 그래서 고수 웨이버 질문했어요. Ask me a question. CCTV camera 있나요? And I said, no CCTV camera. So, yes, let's look at your responses. We have, by the way, thanks for checking in so early. Our listeners in the U.S., first number 1 and 2 today. Let's see this one. Leslie says, if I found $1,000 on the ground, I would pick it up, see if there's any identifying information, like name on the envelope, maybe a bill slip. If there was no identifying information, I would absolutely, and then Leslie, the message got cut off. So you would absolutely, or you would, meaning you would just, yeah, not, by the way, not judging anybody out there. What about this one? 태진 Waver says, 누군가의 소중한 돈이니 당연히 경찰서로. So he says, this is someone's, this $1,000 must be precious to somebody. So I would go to the police station, is what he says. And then June 1 Waver says, I often lose money. Now it's time to recover it. Let's get it. So that's his response. And then 고수, 저는 100만 원이라면 손이 떨리고 심장이 놀랄 것 같아요. 잘 보관해서 경찰서를 가야겠어요. 근데 이 똑같은 분이 갑자기 CCTV camera 있나요? So I said no cameras. So maybe he says 내 돈인 척 줍는 걸 잘 할 자신 있어요. And that's in response to JB who says 내 돈인 척 주시면 될 듯 합니다. Basically, I think he's kidding, but he says, I'll just pretend like it's mine and just pick it up. So anyhow, Umberto, I see you grabbing that money and making it rain and say thank you. It was faith. Now to pay more bills. I know the bills are endless, aren't they? I'll be back with our hot clip. For today's hot clip, it begins with a man in Florida. We could have a segment just on that, a man in Florida. But this story is an amazing one because it ends happily. Let's listen to the clip from ABC News.
This is the photo an FWC trapper snapped after capturing an 11-foot alligator that attacked a man while he was walking his dogs. The attack happened Friday night in Naples. ABC 7's Alexa Velez is back at the scene off Immokalee Road, revealing who showed up just in time to save his life.
Friday night, the unexpected happened to two men at the quarry off Immokalee Road. When Walter Rudder was coming home, he noticed his neighbor on the ground next to a lake like this one with his legs trapped inside a gator's mouth.
Rudder says it's a night he will never forget.
I'm driving, and we saw a man laying on the ground, waving his arm. We pulled over, and I got out of the car and saw that an alligator had him by the leg. It was dragging him into the pond.
The man on the ground was Rick Fingerette, Rudder's friend and neighbor. I spoke to Rick on the phone, who's recovering in the hospital. He told Rudder to drive over the 11-foot alligator so it would release Rick's legs from its jaws. He says he also hit the gator and stuck his fingers in its nostrils, something Dr. Billy Gunnels, FGCU biology professor, says is worth a shot.
Yeah, fight back, kick directly in the nose.
Gunnels reminds us with alligator mating season getting closer, they tend to be less afraid of people.
If you're bit, we're being reactive and you should respond very strongly, very quickly, and do everything to get away.
When I spoke to Rick on the phone today, he told me that he's doing okay and hopes to be released from the hospital today.
What an amazing story. This time it ends happy. So, yes, Rick, he's going to be okay. He's out of the hospital at this point, walking his two Labradors. And he was attacked by a massive gator. And you have to understand, in Florida, there are lots of alligators. I see footage of them all the time, like on social media. Even people like just doing their daily business, even playing golf on the golf course. there are gators. So anyhow, but what about the neighbor that jumped into action? So it does seem that, yes, he ran over the alligator, or part of it, but it does seem like the alligator got away also, so you don't need to worry. I don't think it was harmed that much. Anyhow, your hot clip for this Friday.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for Casey and Foreign Press Highlights. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's that look?
I'm thinking about an alligator.
Oh, do you have any experiences?
I've seen plenty of them.
Oh,
but
where?
Never up. I used to live in South Carolina.
In the swamps? Were there alligators?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't like alligators.
Different.
Yeah, I don't feel so. I don't feel myself.
Oh, really? I was gonna say it sounds really deep and manly.
I hit puberty yesterday. I'll be honest. So it's been a long time coming, but
finally,
yeah.
It's arrived.
I can sing some R&B classics now.
Hey, text topic.
Yeah.
If you found $1,000 on the ground, what would you do?
I would take it.
To?
My house. And count it, make sure it's $1,000 and be like, cool, what can I do with this?
Really?
If it's just cash?
It's
with
cash.
no identifying anything?
No identifying anything. There's no note, there's no identifying anything.
Thank you.
Thank you?
Yeah, I'd be like, I hit the lottery this week.
Oh, interesting.
Is that wrong? Is that
There's
wrong?
no right or, I mean, for our text topic,
Yes.
questions, there is no right or wrong. We're just, what
feels
if
like there's a right or wrong in this one. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me reconsider my answer.
Should we rewind?
I mean, I've found Manangan plenty of occasions.
But Leslie, she says, what if it was you?
Oh, I'd be crying. Like if I lost $1,000, I'd be like,
that's what I said too. I'd be so sad if that were me.
Yeah, I would feel terrible.
Right.
I would not be happy for the person that found it either. I'd be like, oh. But I don't know. It's one of those things. Like if you lose cash and there's no way to identify it, what do? Are you supposed to take it to the police? Is that
I
the
don't know.
answer?
We're going to find out in hour number 2.
Oh,
so
I can't wait.
Stay tuned.
So am I going to jail? Is that what I'm going to find out?
Turkung. All right, let's go to our first story. What's it about? Where's it from?
Oh, it's quite a story. So this was in the BBC this week, and I kind of don't know where to begin with this story, so I'm just going to give you the headline.
By the way, as soon as Casey walked in, like as soon it wasn't even hello. It was like, oh, it's a sexy one today. When it's the story, that was just like, hello there.
It's actually not at all. It's really not.
What's it about?
The fate of Korea's first and biggest sex festival. That's the headline. And the BBC goes into quite a bit of detail on this. And all right, so I'll give you some of the actual article. Lee Hee-tae had high hopes for his sex festival, which he proudly billed as South Korea's first and largest. He envisaged, I don't know, 5,000 fans flocking to see their favorite Japanese porn actors and actresses who were being flown in for last weekend's event. There was to be a bondage fashion show, a sex toy exhibition, and some adult games that involved bursting balloons between people's bodies.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
But I know.
Bursting balloons.
Yeah, it's a whole scene here.
Yeah.
But with just 24 hours to go, the festival was canceled.
I did hear about this story.
Okay.
I did hear about we touched upon it lightly, meaning like we didn't get into the details, but I'm very curious as to why the BBC is covering this in the first place.
I think they took this chance, let's say, to kind of cover a lot of attitudes about sex in Korea. And there's a lot of explanation about, attitudes from different generations, from different genders, how sex is kind of viewed in South Korea.
Okay.
They say right off the bat that South Korea is known for its conservative approach to sex and adult entertainment. I didn't know that it was that well known. But public nudity, for example, and strip shows are banned in South Korea. It's illegal to sell or distribute hardcore pornography, though not to consume it, which seems like It's an interesting line to cross,
okay.
or to draw, I should
Yes.
say. And, I think for a lot of the readership who might be reading the BBC, they might be surprised by that. Because
Right.
for the
And
UK,
by the way,
for example.
that's
yes.
like the legality of it. It doesn't mean people don't partake, in those activities behind closed doors.
That's exactly what the festival
really?
organizer Lee Hee-tae does say.
But don't put he and I in the same boat, please.
No, but
please.
He does.
I'm just saying. I'm pointing out.
You don't want to be on the same side as him. I gotcha. All right, but okay, to give him his chance to talk about it, he says virtually every developed country has a sex festival, but here in South Korea, we don't even have an adult entertainment culture. So he wanted to take the first steps towards creating one, putting it all on his shoulders, like a hero. So his company actually did produce what was legal softcore pornography before changing to what they do now, which is organizing events and apparently not succeeding.
So let's get into the logistics. Why was the festival canceled?
About a month ago, there were women's rights groups from the town of Suwon who were protesting because it was the event was scheduled to be held there.
Okay.
And they accused the festival of exploiting women in South Korea, where gender violence is endemic, as they say in the article. It was not, as they argued, a festival aimed at both sexes. If you look at the posters that were included in the article,
right,
you could clearly see that all of the performers scheduled to be visiting the events were, women and very scantily clad. So it did suggest that it was typically going to be males who were going to the event.
Okay.
And then one thing after the other. It was like, so the local mayor in Suwon said the event was taking place too close to a primary school. So authorities threatened to revoke the venue's license if they went ahead with it. So the venue, of course, canceled. Then Mr. Lee switched to another location. The same thing happened. The authority there accused the festival of instilling a distorted view of sex and insisted the venue cancel. Finally, they find like a ship docked on the river in Seoul that agreed to do it.
Yes.
They were threatened if the boat's leaseholder threatened to barricade it and cut off electricity if they went through with it. So it's just like every place they went to. Finally, Gangnam was the last place that agreed to it. There was a location that could hold about 400 people, which was a lot lower than he originally intended.
Sure.
He kept the location secret. So the Gangnam City Council wrote to every one of its hundreds of restaurants warning them that they would shut them down if they hosted the festival, accusing of it being morally harmful. And that venue actually stood its ground, but then all of the entertainers from Japan canceled. And they said that their agency said that the women they actually feared being attacked or stabbed if they went there. So they feared safety concerns.
Yes.
So it kind of escalated very quickly. And Mr. Lee said he told the BBC that he was shocked that these events had taken such an unthinkable turn. He said he received death threats. And he said he feels like he's been treated like a criminal without doing anything illegal. The festival was well within the lines of the law. As he sees it, there was to be no nudity or no sexual acts performed. And he actually held a similar event last year, which had little to no publicity.
Really? Oh, he had one last year?
Yeah.
So why all the attention this time around?
Yeah, that's one thing in the article that's not ever made clear. But they did say that the group that protested the event, the Suwon Women's Hotline, viewed this cancellation as a triumph. They talked to the director of the hotline. Her name is Go In-che. And that hotline provides support for victims of domestic violence. She says, no matter whatever the organizers say, this was not a celebration of sex, but instead exploitation and objectification of women. And the sex industry in general encourages violence against women. And Go and other women's rights organizations here argue that the country here has a problem with sexual violence that needs urgent attention. According to Go, it pervades the culture here. So, again, the BBC is kind of taking this opportunity to take a wide view of how sexual activities and sex in general is viewed in South Korea.
I was rifling through my papers. I was trying to find that. No. Not for your script, but because Haley was earlier telling us about the latest figures, especially for of the OECD member nations.
Yeah.
The sexual crimes against women, that number is not that low.
Yeah.
Compared to even the OECD member nations. So that's why I was like kind of rifling through my papers.
Sure. I've got a statistic for you from this article.
Okay.
According to a 2022 survey by the government's gender ministry, more than 1/3 of women said they had experienced sexual aggression here in South Korea. So it's yeah.
That's why I wanted to at least, bring it up again because I mean, some people might say, hey, freedom of speech. Yeah.
People are saying that as well, especially the organizer.
Right.
And he's saying, like, the attitudes here about sex and porn in general are stuck in the past. He says, kind of back to your point earlier, he says the authorities are hypocrites. If you go online, everyone is sharing this kind of material, but then people, pretend that they're innocent offline. And he says, how much longer are we going to keep up this pretense?
I'm not going to disagree with that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's still, sexual violence going on against women where it's still in some circles kind of like, I wouldn't say accepted, but it's not dealt with as harshly as it might be in other countries.
Well, here's an interesting thing they mentioned in the article. So, the lecturer says that, she's a lecturer at sexuality and culture at Sejong University.
Okay.
She says one of the issues with the festival that it was geared mostly towards a male audience. In other words, like it was an event for both sides, if you want to look at it that way, for a male and female audience. And then they did mention, like, Mr. Lee's company last year, they actually had a woman parade through the streets of Seoul wearing nothing but a cardboard box, inviting passersby to put their hands inside and to touch her.
Oh gosh!
And that doesn't seem to be a very that doesn't seem to be very inclusive as an event.
I mean, so if this were like if there were equal number of men,
Sure, if you want to look at it that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was just I don't know.
It did seem to be very
geared towards men.
As they say many times in the article. But they did say there was a difference in the Gangnam area, how people viewed the festival.
Versus?
Yeah, so it was kind of split according to gender.
Not surprising, is it?
I think not. I think that's a big point of the article.
Yes.
They quoted a male IT worker. They gave his name. I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
He said,
don't out him.
Yeah. But he said it's not pornographic. They're not doing anything illegal, so I don't think it should have been blocked. Then they did mention a 35-year-old woman said that she sympathized with the various councils and was repulsed at the festival for commercializing sex. However, there does seem to be a divide between younger people and older people when it comes to this.
About what issue?
About the decision to ban it.
I like I said, I can't disagree or agree, but
Yeah.
There's so many working facets of the story, but
right.
Yeah.
They talked to a 34-year-old woman who said this ban was a decision by old conservative politicians who want to appeal to older voters. This generation still believes sex must be hidden. She says young people's attitudes to sex are changing, and she and her friends actually openly talk about sex. So this kind of leaves the door open for, who knows what the future may hold. Will these kind of events become common here, or?
Right. I don't know. That's like in the entirety of our program, I think that's the maximum number of times we've used the word sex, like on our program ever.
Especially early in the morning.
Right. But it's notable, this story. So thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Right.
We're going to move on to our next story, though.
Yeah, I do just want to mention quickly, it might be in the news in June because they're going to attempt to hold another festival. Very soon.
Okay, we'll see.
So this might be in the news again.
Oh, okay.
My final story for today is from The Economist.
Okay.
Also a British publication. It's a very interesting article. It's called "Why South Korean Pop Culture Rocks and North Korea's Does Not." The headline is to get attention. And basically the premise of this article is they say the two Koreas share 5,000 years of history and were separated only after the Second World War. It's sometimes hard to remember that.
Yes.
That's like a very succinct way of describing how how recent this division is.
Right. It's modern history.
Right. So they say a comparison of the modern pop culture between the two countries offers a useful insight into the effect of politics on creativity. So it's like a case study, like what happens when the government controls pop culture. And they say one of the obvious comparisons and results of that is success. And cultural success translates into cash, especially for South Korea these days. According to the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry, half of the top 10 best-selling albums in the world last year were South Korean.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
That's a lot.
Because we do talk about the money a lot, but, just sometimes if you break it down to the success of things, like out of the top 10,
numbers.
half. It's like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
That's amazing, yeah.
And they do mention, of course, money as well. They say South Korea's pop culture exports were up to $13 billion in 2022, up from just under $5 billion in 2013. So that's a very rapid increase. And they say this sum dwarfs North Korea's official exports of all goods and services combined.
Oh, if you just do this.
So we're talking about
juxtaposition.
Right, just culture versus everything they produce. So, so it's a very big difference, obviously.
I mean, there are so many sanctions. I don't see how those numbers would really, grow in
It's
North
kind
Korea.
of it's kind of an unfair comparison as well. What are they allowed to export technically? Not much. But they also compared the idea of just freedom in general and the effect of that. So having artistic freedom, in South Korea, artists are allowed to criticize, satirize, and expose uncomfortable truths, as they say. They mentioned Parasite and Squid Game being very successful and also very critical of inequality in South Korea.
Right.
North Koreans, on the other hand, are only free to criticize South Korea, and you can kind of predict every story what it's going to be about. So it kind of it makes it boring.
All right, well, we're going to call it a wrap for today, but thanks for bringing us two interesting stories, and we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Casey.
Have a great weekend.
All right, you too. We're going to get to our final song, Crocodile Rock by Elton John. Enjoy. I'll be back at 8.
BEFM 부산영어방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구 도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다 축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의 해맞이 축제까지. 부산의 축제는 우리의 열정을 가득 담고 있습니다. 바쁜 일상은 잠시 뒤로하고 특별한 시간을 선물 받는 바로 이곳 부산에서 우리의 삶은 축제가 됩니다. 축제로 하나 되는 부산, 여러분은 어떤 축제를 기다리시나요? 이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 BFM 부산영어방송이 함께합니다.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
부산 글로벌 도시재단 대표이사 전용호입니다. 부산은 물류, 금융, 영상, 관광, 첨단 산업 등 핵심 분야에서 또 한 번의 도약을 준비하고 있습니다. 글로벌 허브 도시 부산의 비전은 부산을 넘어 대한민국의 균형 발전을 촉진할 새로운 계기가 될 것입니다. 부산 글로벌 도시재단은 세계 시민을 연결하는 네트워크로 도시 외교의 중추적 역할을 담당하고 글로벌 부산의 미디어 플랫폼인 부산영어방송을 통해 영어하기 편한 도시 부산을 만들고 있습니다. 글로벌 허브 도시 부산, 그 중심에 부산 글로벌 도시재단이 있습니다.
Busan Global City Foundation leads the Global Hub City Busan.
나 정상훈, 밀당의 고수지만 등받이는 당겨 앉는 버스 매너. 운동기구에 묻은 땀은 꼭 닦아주는 헬스장 매너. 주차할 땐 선을 넘지 않는 주차장 매너. 어디서든 매너 있게, 매력 있게. 공공 매너를 지켜주세요. 공익광고협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
It's morning.
And what a lovely morning.
Dynamic Busan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, Shelby.
What show is this?
Hello.
Hello, baby.
Hey, buddy.
Hello, everybody.
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now 8 o'clock. This is News Highlights. Aides failed to coordinate agenda for Yoon Lee meetings. Senior aides for President Yoon Suk-yeol and Democratic Party Chair Lee Jae-myung met yesterday for their second working-level talks for the first-ever Yoon Lee meeting. However, the two sides failed to reach an agreement on a number of issues. Senior Presidential Secretary for Political Affairs Hong Chul-ho said that he proposed holding the meeting promptly without coordinating the agenda in advance, covering a wide range of topics that have to do with the people's livelihood and other state affairs. Lee Jae-myung's chief secretary Chun Jun-ho expressed his disappointment over the talks and added that his side heard no responses from the presidential office on the previous matters conveyed to the president. Korea's economic growth at over 2-year high in first quarter. South Korea's economy grew at the fastest pace in over 2 years in the first quarter of the year, thanks to recoveries in private spending and construction investment. The country's real gross domestic product, GDP, a key measure of economic growth, increased 1.3% on quarter in the January through March period, according to preliminary data from the Bank of Korea yesterday. South Korea's economic growth slowed to the lowest in 3 years last year due to a slump in exports amid tightening monetary policies around the globe. For 2024, the central bank has estimated the country's economy to rebound slightly at around 2%. Constitutional Court strikes down minimum family inheritance rule. The Constitutional Court ruled against the inheritance system, which mandates that family members of the dead are entitled to a predetermined minimum inheritance under the Civil Act. The law stipulates predetermined inheritance portions for spouses, children, parents, and siblings of the dead in case a person dies without a will, even those responsible for abuse or betraying familial duties. The court determined unanimously that the law was out of sync with the Constitution and that it goes against public sentiment. The court gave the National Assembly until the end of next year to amend the law in question, or the law will be automatically terminated. South Korean football team loses to Indonesia out of Olympic qualifiers. The South Korean under-23 team lost to Indonesia 10-11 in the penalty shootout after a 2-2 tied match. The Asian Football Confederation's Asian Cup also serves as the Olympic qualifiers, which means that South Korea will not advance onto the Paris Games, falling short of a 10th consecutive Olympic appearance. The team, led by head coach Hwang Sun-hong, showed weaknesses in its defense, allowing Indonesia to score 2 goals in the first half. And both Hwang and forward Lee Young-jun were booted off the field. Team Indonesia was led by coach Shin Tae-yong, who has led the Korean national team from 2017 to 2018 and is contracted to serve as Indonesia's head coach until 2027. Harvey Weinstein's 2020 rape conviction overturned in New York. Disgraced Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein's 2020 rape conviction in New York has been overturned on the basis that he did not receive a fair trial. The New York Court of Appeals said prosecutors in the pivotal Me Too case called witnesses whose accusations were not part of the charges against him. The court said that meant he was unfairly tried for past behavior and ordered a new trial. Weinstein, 72, remains in prison. He was separately convicted of rape in Los Angeles. And this was News Highlights. This is issue Waglwagle. We have Haley back in the studio.
Good morning again.
Yes, and we're gonna begin with this extremely frustrating case on child pedophilia.
Right, so it's kind of in line with what I was talking about in News Digest, what Casey addressed in vein with that during his segment. You know, we're all for freedom of speech, but there needs to be protection for especially minors.
Yes.
Especially children. So
absolutely.
The Supreme Court yesterday confirmed a 13-year prison sentence for an elementary school teacher who created and distributed child pornography on multiple occasions. So the teacher created, and by multiple, I mean 1,900. Contents across 6 years from 2015, including 120 victims, all children and teenagers. So let's get that in. 120 victims, 1,900 contents, 13 years in prison.
13.
Right. So the prosecution actually requested 18 years but the first 2 courts sentenced him to 15. The Supreme Court sent the case back on legal grounds that the appeals court allowed the prosecution to change the indictment, which put it down to 13. This teacher approached the victims via messenger apps and even met them online and preyed upon them in person as well. And the defendant argued that the sentence was too heavy for his crime, which the Supreme Court did not agree with.
You know, and as disturbing as this case may be, you know, such digital sexual crimes are getting, more common and more malicious.
Right. So in the past, these crimes involved perpetrators luring the victims in person and filming them themselves illegally. But now there's quite a bit of a grooming aspect involved in these cases where the victims are threatened or gaslighted or groomed to film themselves in these compromising videos or photos. And this is based on the Gender Equality and Family Ministry's analysis that was released based on court cases involving minors. So in the year 2022, there were 3,736 victims, and we are talking about minors, of sexual crimes involving minors and 2,913 perpetrators. And there was a big spike in these cases where the victims were coerced to film themselves, and then there was also an increase in deepfake videos. And of these 2,913 cases, 54.5%, or let's round up to 55%, ended with probation.
Okay,
so
seriously?
no one served jail time.
Why?
That's a great question that I would like the courts to be held accountable for.
Right.
Only 38% solved prison sentences and 6% were fined. Yeah. So,
for these types of sexual crimes, really?
So I would like to have this discussion all tucked away and resolved before we get to sexual liberation or freedom of speech. So on average, a child predator who created child pornography sentenced to an average of 4 years. Even in rape cases, an average of 5.5 years in prison.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So sadly, that was actually double the sentencing average for child pornography from 5 years ago. So it is an improvement, but not that much, as only 3.4% were ordered to wear electronic monitoring devices. So that's also shocking.
Yes.
As for the victims, 91.5% were girls. The average age was almost 14. Please keep in mind that 60% of the perpetrators were someone the victims knew. So parents, guardians,
speechless.
keep that in mind.
Yes. So, so many parts of, what you just told me is so enraging. But, particularly the sentencing, I just don't get it. I mean, we need to do we need stuff for law, new legislation?
Well, there's legislation. By the way, there are sentencing maximums or minimums, but then there's also the Supreme Court sentencing guideline, which kind of ties the hands of judges because if they want to sentence perpetrators to beyond that, they have to submit a separate documentation and justification as to why. So in any case, let's compare. Let's go to the U.S., the infamous Larry Nassar case, former USA gymnastics team doctor. The reason I brought this, by the way, Nassar, who himself, he sexually abused young athletes under the guise of medical treatment.
Yes.
He's serving a 175-year sentence. That is because legally, the U.S. and South Korea, they have different sentencing structures where in the U.S., all your separate sentences combine.
Yes, and it's consecutive, meaning you finish one, you start the other, and it's not concurrent, meaning they all run together.
In South Korea, we have concurrent sentencing. If you are sentenced to multiple charges, they do combine, but it's I believe it's to a certain proportion. So you serve the longer one plus a few years from the shorter one.
They don't slap them all together.
But no, you will never get 175 years in Korea. But this week, in the same case, but separately, the Justice Department reached a $138.7 million settlement with the victims for their initial failures in investigating the sexual assault case. So the government paid them over $100 million for failing to quickly investigate the case, whereas what are we looking at? 4 years on average for creating child pornography.
And you're thinking okay, so that's a lot of money, but there's, for more than 100 victims that means they're getting million, half of that goes to your lawyers. And, how can you justify, giving out money for sexual crimes? But anyhow, all right, next. This story is just like an onion. Keeps, peel layer after layer, just keeps on giving this HYBE versus Min Hee-jin issue. What's going on?
Right. So a little bit of background. HYBE, the biggest K-pop agency in the country, it has, I believe, almost a dozen, 11 subsidiary labels. One of them is Adore, run by Min Hee-jin. She's the creative behind New Jeans. Massive success.
Yes.
So HYBE launched an audit into Adore earlier this week with allegations that Min allegedly tried to buy out HYBE shares through foreign investors or seek separation and independence. Min argues that HYBE's newest girl group, Islet, is a derivative, a copycat of New Jeans. Now the latest. HYBE yesterday made a midpoint announcement of their audit, saying that they found specific evidence that Min led the attempts to take the management rights of Adore from underneath HYBE and filed a legal complaint against Min Hee-jin and the vice chair of Adore for breach of trust.
Oh, but of course, Min Hee-jin did not take that lying down. I mean, wow.
This was prime television.
Yes.
This was 2 hours of a press conference where she put everything on the table. And then some. So she claims, number one, that HYBE took advantage of her, that she did or what she did or say cannot be breach of trust, and her only fault was being too good at her job. And by the way, these are all direct quotes that I have translated.
Yes.
Her attorney, so for the legal logic, so breach of trust, paim, According to the attorney, it's an action that leads to an actual damage to the company. That's how you justify it. But there's no case of Min doing or causing damage to the company. And there's no plotting or scheming to breach trust because you actually need to have actual damages to qualify as breach of trust.
Legally, okay.
Right. So that's a legal argument. And then, well, the reason that this is so hot is that it's not stopping at the legal or the business aspect. It's going personal.
Okay.
Because Manangan claims that Hive's management, including Bang Si-hyuk and another CEO, they tried to convince her to push Le Seraphim, who's another girl group created by another Hive subsidiary, Source Music, and make Le Seraphim look like they were Manangan's creations.
Oh.
The two groups, New Jeans and Le Seraphim, debuted around the same time. She also released Kakao Chat conversations with members of Hive management and executives, as well as some of New Jeans members' parents, claiming that New Jeans was basically disadvantaged in their promotions. They didn't receive as many resources or backing from the parent company as she believes they should have because of this kind of company-enforced rivalry. But, for the fans, the question is, well, how will New Jeans proceed from now on? Because their new album is supposed to drop next month.
Yes.
Manangan made it clear that things will go on as planned, and she says that the relationship she has with the members of the girl group is beyond the public's imagination.
Right, and the sad thing is, and we are talking about, young women and, actually a couple minors.
Right.
They're quite young, and, other, whether it's Eyelid or other groups, they're young
Their name should
ladies.
not be dragged through the mud.
All right. Let's move on. Employees in South Korea are entitled to childbirth leave, but this one particular case, I guess it raised eyebrows.
Right. So this is according to a restaurant owner in Gyeonggi who received this message from their employee. The employee says that she's due. Her baby is due on June 1st and asked the owner to approve a 90-day childbirth leave. So there are two separate types. There's 출산휴가, the childbirth leave, which is what she requested. There's 육아휴직, the child care leave. But the issue is, she joined the restaurant 40 days ago, so she's been only working there for a month plus 10 days.
Okay.
And when the owner asked her in the interview process if she was pregnant, she said no, twice.
Oh, so she lied?
Right. So she was actually, if she's due on June 1st, when she was interviewed, she was
very much pregnant.
She was in the early third trimester, late second trimester, which is when you do showing.
Right.
So she told the owner that the wages during this period are actually given out from the government, from employment insurance, so the owner isn't losing money. So she kind of knows how the system works, it seems.
Well, what is the law on this?
Well, here's the thing. For child care leave, 육아휴직, the employer actually has the right to turn down an employee's child care leave request if the employee has only been working for the company for 180 days or less.
Okay.
However, there are no such rights for childbirth leave because, you do have to leave to give birth anyways. So labor law experts say that intent in this case does not matter whether the employee was trying to take advantage of the situation or not. Also, nor when the employee got pregnant, whether that was before the interview, after the interview, because the system prioritizes the protection of the expectant mother and their right not to be discriminated against. Which is...
And I was thinking, is it okay to ask a woman if they're pregnant?
Too, right? During interviews.
Right.
I will have to look into that issue as well, the legality of it. So, for the owner, it seems unfair, especially if the person kind of knew exactly what she was doing. But, so one comment said it's these cases that seem to take advantage of the system that ultimately hurt female employment because then one might think, well, then we're just not going to hire women. Which is a clear fallacy, but I'm not saying it doesn't happen in reality.
All right. Lastly, let's end on a positive note with this honest high schooler, and it has something to do with our text topic, right?
It does. So this is based on the National Police Agency's YouTube video recently. So back in, I think, January of this year, a man was riding on a bicycle. He just dropped from his bag or pocket 1.2 million won of cash in an alley, and you can see the CCTV footage. It just drops.
Yeah.
Yeah, plop. I mean, that's just shocking.
It's raining money, like literally.
It is, yeah, it's just plopping money. And he just rides away, completely unaware of what happened.
Okay.
And then, cars drive over it. It's kind of later in the evening. So
it's dark.
It's dark. And then this high school girl, she is walking the streets and she finds it. She looks around because, I mean, it's like, am I being punked? Am I on someone's channel?
I get it.
She takes a photo of it.
Right.
And then starts picking it up one by one.
Oh.
And then she goes to the police and reports it.
Oh, now that all you people on our board saying that you would, all of us.
I want her to wait until she's 33 and we'll talk later.
So what happened?
So the police, they were able to comb through the CCTV footage and they identified the man's bicycle, and officers went out to the neighboring areas, found the bicycle, and the money returned safely.
Yay.
And she was rewarded from the man too.
Oh, she was? Okay, that's
so by the way,
legal.
So the reason that I would love to take all the money and call it mine, but I won't, is because I know this. There is this law called 점유이탈물 횡령죄,
my gosh, what is that?
It translates to embezzlement of lost articles. So basically taking something that is not yours. You are legally responsible to report someone else's money or property, lest you want to violate this embezzlement of lost articles law. Or otherwise, you may be subject to under 1 year in prison or under 3 million won in fines.
So it's not finders keepers.
It is not finders keepers, but if I find your thing, you also are legally responsible to reward me.
Really?
Yes, there is. A person who recovered their lost property has to pay a reward of between 5 and 20% of that article found.
Ooh.
And by the way, though, this is taxed because nothing's more certain in life than death and taxes.
That's right.
And it's similar to winning the lottery, so it's at 22%.
22%.
I mean,
of your
how
5%.
Realistically is this enforced? But I'm just giving you the laws.
Yes, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
And now that you have shamed all of us.
And myself. Mostly myself.
Anybody and everybody who said, oh, I'm going to take the money and run. Well,
and I even knew this. I even knew the law, but I'm just like, are there CCTVs?
I know the fact that everybody wanted to ask, but only one person was brave enough to ask. Speaking on behalf of the masses. But thanks for going over all the issues and, of course, all the news throughout the week. We'll check in with you on Monday. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great weekend.
All right. Well, it's time for a song break. So here it is. Oh, I'm sorry. Weather, as my producer says. Here's the weather. It is now 8:19 on this Friday morning. There is an accident on Apec-lo from Olympic Dongsan Three-Way intersection to Olympic intersection. There was a collision with a vehicle and a cargo truck. That has been cleared up, but there's still congestion because of that. A bus is broken down on Pansong-lo from Seokdae intersection going towards Pansong. It's slow on Pyeongyang-lo from the Wondong interchange to Suyeong Tunnel. And there's congestion on Nakdong-daeru from Daeti Tunnel to Seodaeshin intersection. It's currently 15. It's going to go up to 22 today. Looking at the weekend, beautiful sunny day tomorrow. And guess what? It's going to continue through Sunday. You can expect lows of 13 degrees Celsius, highs of 26 on both days. So really take the chance and really enjoy the weekend weather. This was your traffic and weather. Here is County Stars by One Republic.
Dreaming about the things that we could be, but baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Yeah, we'll be counting stars. Like a swinging vine, swing my heart across the line. In my face is flashing signs. Seek it out and ye shall find. Old, but I'm not that old. Young, but I'm not that bold. And I don't think the world is sold. I'm just doing what we're told. I feel something so right, but doing the wrong thing. And I feel something so wrong couldn't lie, couldn't lie, couldn't lie. Everything that kills me makes me feel alive. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. But baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Hey. I feel your love and I feel it burn down this river every turn. Hope is our four-letter word. Make that money, watch it burn. Old, but I'm not that old. Young, but I'm not that bold. And I don't think the world is sold. I'm just doing what we're told. And I feel something so wrong. We're doing the right thing. I could lie, couldn't lie, couldn't lie. Everything that drowns me makes me wanna fly. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. But baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Oh, take that money, watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Everything that kills me makes me feel alive. I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Watch it burn, sing in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sing in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sing in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sing in the river, the lessons I've learned.
All right, everybody, one last time for a text topic. We're talking about, I don't know, your answers might change now after you heard Haley's story with the young lady who picked up the 1.2 million won off the ground as she picked everything up and took it to the police. And then the police were able to find the guy on the bike who lost the money, who literally, you saw the money coming out of, while he was riding his bike. But when I did ask you earlier, like, if you found $1,000 on the ground, what would you do with it? It was kind of split. Some people were saying, like, oh, the moral thing is, like, go to the police station and turn it in. And I would love to think that most of you were, like, probably thinking, oh, like, as a joke, like, is there a CCTV camera or not? And the key is, in Korea, especially if you live in Korea, most likely there's a CCTV camera somewhere. And aside from the cameras, I would love to think that even for myself, I would turn the money in because if the shoe were on the other foot, if I had lost that money, I would hope sincerely that someone would return it and turn it in as well. So that's just, of course, my take on that. And so it's kind of split, and there's a lot of conversation going on that is unrelated to our text topic. By the way, I love that. I love that you chat with each other. That's perfectly fine. All right, I'll be back with our special interview. For today's special interview, let's begin it with this. It can be said that South Korea has settled into a fully-fledged multicultural society with a continued stream of foreign migrant workers, marriage immigrants, etc. But we're now in a time where we're really trying to embrace our diverse communities, opening up our hearts and minds to our differences. And I think that's so special that we can celebrate each other and the differences that we have. A great place to start is at the upcoming Asia 문화 한마당, or Asian Cultural Festival. It's coming up this Sunday. So the good news is, as I told you in the weather report, it looks like it's going to be really nice this weekend, including Sunday. Perfect for an outing, so let's find out what we can look forward to and also learn about our local resource centers. So joining us in the studio today, we have Tess Manangan, who is a steering committee member of the Busan Foreign Residence Center, a representative of the Filipino community. I hope I say correctly, Sapinaco or
That's
Sapinaco,
right.
and chief director of the Link Migrant Translation Cooperative. So welcome to our program. Thanks for coming in. Can you introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me. As you said, I'm the chief director of Link Migrant Translation Cooperative. I'm also a member of the steering committee of the Busan Foreign Residence Center. We call it BFC for short.
BFC,
And for most Filipinos, especially in Busan, I'm Ate Tess. That's Tess Nuna or Tess Ani.
Oh, really?
I'm a representative of the Filipino community, which is called Sapinaco.
Sapinaco. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for telling us a little bit about yourself.
You can also call me Ate if you want.
Okay,
Ate
okay.
Tess.
Hey, so you were telling me off air, though, how long have you been here in Korea?
Oh, well, too long.
How long?
I actually came to Korea in 93, so that
1993?
Yes, I've been here for more than 30 years.
Oh my goodness, you're more Korean than I am. You've been here much, much longer than I have.
Yes.
Right.
I've lived in Korea longer than I lived in the Philippines, actually.
Oh, is it too personal to ask what brought you here? Is it okay to ask?
My husband's Korean.
Okay. So yes, and so you raised your family here. I'm assuming
We have a son. Oh, he will be 26 in August.
Oh, really? Oh my goodness.
He's also been to the military in Gangwon-do.
Oh, here in Korea. Wow.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so he served in the military, doing his duty.
Duty as a
now
Korean
we're going to move into this event, because we do have to talk about the Asia Culture Festival, or I love it in Korea, the Asia 문화 한마당. I love that phrase, 한마당, right? So tell us about it.
Well, the Asia Culture Festival has been held since 2002 with the aim of communicating and harmonizing Asian migrants and local people through culture.
Yes.
It was co-organized by this organization called 이주민과 함께, Solidarity with Migrants, which is the parent organization of BFC.
Yes.
And the migrant communities. I vividly remember the first Asia Culture Festival was hosted by me and another Bangladeshi worker. Actually, this coming Sunday, I will still be hosting. Since the establishment of the BFC, or Busan Foreign Residence Center, in 2012, migrant communities have co-hosted the event with the organization.
Sure.
Solidarity with Migrants and the Busan Metropolitan Government are the event sponsors.
I see.
Asia Cultural Festival is special for migrant communities because with other events organized by just one organization where they just join, Asia Cultural Festival is co-hosted by our migrant communities. So we have to actively participate from the planning stage.
Oh, I think that's amazing, though. The fact that, there's involvement at the planning stage, not just like,
Of
okay,
course.
we get a booth and that's it, right? So what are some of the things that we should definitely not miss? What would you say?
This year, the Asia Culture Festival will be co-hosted by BFC and 9 migrant communities. Participating communities are from Nepal, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Myanmar, China, Indonesia, Cambodia, Pakistan, and the Philippines.
Wow.
Most importantly, we will be serving Asian food from these countries for free.
I was going to say,
Yes.
it's like, you had me at international food.
Yes,
But you're
yes.
saying for free?
I actually have a list of the food that we're going to serve.
Oh, can you give us some examples?
The Philippine community will be serving pancit and lumpia. Nepal will be serving seloti and tomato achar. Does it sound? Pakistan community will be serving biryani. It's very popular.
Okay.
Vietnamese community will be serving chajo. Anyway, and other
et cetera.
food. Yeah,
and
right.
so on and so on.
The communities also will be sponsoring they will be running some experience booths.
Yes.
And from 2 p.m. there will be a program, and so the audience can see multicultural performances from members of these communities. So it's going to be a
lot
very
of fun, right?
nice event.
Yes. Well, I also want to talk about, Tess, about the role of the Busan Foreign Residence Center. That's obviously within our community. So tell us about some of the services it provides.
Okay. I have been a member of the steering committee of the Busan Foreign Residence Center for a long time. Maybe for 12, since it was founded.
Oh my goodness, yes.
First, BFC provides counseling in various languages to migrants who suffer from delayed wages, industrial accidents, visa problems, and others. BFC does not just provide information, but also, for example, receive salaries for workers who are not paid and helps deal with industrial accidents. In particular, it is a great help to migrants who have difficulty communicating in Korean by providing translation services for patients at clinics and hospitals all over Busan. Actually, the translators are mostly from my group, the Link Migrant Translation Cooperative. Right. I myself is a translator.
Oh, you're so busy.
Yes. In addition,
running all over town, helping so many people.
In addition, BFC operates various educational programs such as multinational information provision, Korean language education, and labor law education, so that migrants can solve their problems on their own. The center also supports migrants to settle well in Korean society by conducting cultural programs such as the Asia Cultural Festival, which plays a great role in communication and harmony between citizens and migrants. Actually, I'm not a full-time staff of BFC, but as a member of the steering committee, it is very rewarding to know that BFC is contributing to the protection of the rights of migrants and cultural diversity. Right?
Yes. And now, I also want to take a look into the role of the Filipino community at Sapinaco, as you said, right? Which you obviously are part of. So tell us more about this group.
My community is called Sapinaco. It stands for Samahan ng mga Pilipinong Nagkakaisa sa Korea.
Oh, so it's shortened into Sapinaco.
Yes. In English, it would mean Solidarity of United Filipinos in Korea.
Okay, got it.
It was founded in 2004 by a group of about 30 Filipino friends. We just aim to build friendship and camaraderie amongst ourselves.
I see.
In our peak, we had about 100 to 150 members.
Really?
At one time, yes.
At one time, oh.
We had 3 basketball teams that time. Since most of our members are actually migrant workers.
Yes.
On a contract basis.
Yes.
Most have repatriated back to the Philippines.
Sure.
So right now we have about 50 members,
I see.
Of whom about 30 are active. I think the most important role of Sapinaco to our members is that it serves as a home away from home.
So important.
Yeah,
right.
As you can see, migrant workers come to Korea alone, and it is
such a lonely thing. Right?
Yeah. It's very difficult for them to invite or be with their families in Korea.
Sure.
And it's not easy for them to go to the Philippines and visit their families often. So we make it a point to be with them, especially on big holidays like Christmas, which is the biggest holiday in Korea.
Right.
In the Philippines, actually.
Right.
In the Philippines, yes. And in Korea, on Solal and Chuseok.
Yes.
Days when their Korean co-workers would go home to their families and they are left alone in their dormitories.
Oh.
So that's when they come to Korea, there are lots of difficulties like different food, different climate, different language. But I think homesickness is the biggest problem. They have to. Yeah, right. And also, we also are their families. Like here in Korea, we celebrate with them on their birthdays and other special occasions. We grieve with them when they lose their loved ones, and especially when they're sick.
Like a real family.
Yeah, right.
People feel really, really isolated and really sad when they get sick, when there's no one to
When they're
look.
sick, that's the
So
time when
sad.
they need their family most. I make it a point to go with them, to translate for them. I go with them not just as a translator, but as a family. Like the other day, the other week, actually, I had a patient from Noksan.
Yes.
He was he said that he was having difficulty breathing when he worked outside on cold days.
Sure.
So I brought him to the hospital, and the doctor said that actually he had problem with his heart. So he had he had several tests, and he was having his angiography.
Yes.
And the doctors thought that it was just a simple problem with the heart, but they found out that he needed a stent.
That's
and so
serious.
they summoned me. They told me to come into the operating room, and right there, when the patient was on the operating table,
oh my goodness,
they told me to ask him if he wanted to have the stent here in Korea or if he wanted to go to the Philippines.
So what ultimately happened? Did he have it here?
Well, actually, when he was on the operating table, he asked me, Ate Tess, if you were my mother, what would you tell me? What would you do? Yes. And I said, do it. You're there.
Right now.
Yes. He's okay now. Yeah, he's okay.
Thank goodness. I was
yeah, right.
So you play such an important role. Yes.
And also since like me, I mean, since we have connections with various migrant support organizations like BFC and Solidarity with Migrants, we connect them to the appropriate organization according to their needs.
Yes. Oh my goodness, you're doing so much more than just obviously just translation or just connecting people, like serving as like a family member to those people who might need that. Right. Well, I also want to talk about what you're currently working on. Anything in the works?
Sapinakwe is right now currently trying to secure funds for our yearly donation project. It's a project for children in the Philippines.
Okay.
We started this project, I think, about more than 10 years ago. We give school bags and some school materials inside the bags to deserving children in the Philippines.
I see.
Right. I think it was in 2010 when we started with 100 bags for one school. And this year, we're distributing about 2,500 bags to 12 schools.
Wow.
Well, actually, the bags we get them for free from this organization in Yeongdeok near Pohang, which is called Banggapta Chingoya or Hi Friends. They collect secondhand or used bags from Korean school children.
Sure.
Yeah, right. They're very nice.
Yes.
A lot of them are waterproof.
Right.
The children in the Philippines love them. So the fund that we are trying to make is to buy the school supplies that we are going to put inside the bags before we distribute them to the children.
Wow, so much good work that you're doing.
Yeah, actually, we're planning to distribute them in July before the school year starts.
I see.
So me and the other representative will have to go to the Philippines. We distribute them by ourselves.
Oh, personally?
Yes, and the former Sapinaku members who have gone back to the Philippines.
I see. Oh, I wish we had more time, but it's time to wrap up. What would you like to say to our listeners right now? Are the waivers out there? Any last words?
I'm not going to say much, but so that they will remember, please join us this Sunday.
Yes,
from at the plaza in front of Laneshite in Sasang from 1 o'clock to 5 p.m.
Okay.
It's April 28th. Asian food for free. Eat all you can.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming in so early to share not just about the Asia Culture Festival, but about the work, the amazing work that you're doing here in Korea, and maybe inspiring so many of our listeners out here today. But thanks for coming in. Tess, right?
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Everybody, once again, this was Tess at Manangan, and we talked about, in particular, the Asia Culture Festival. So let's show our support, not just for this festival, but for all the migrant workers who might be having a tough time here in Korea. Let's be more of a friend. All right, here is our song for now. This is Say So by Doja Cat.
My breath right quick. He ain't never seen it in a dress like this. He ain't never even been impressed like this. Probably why I got him quiet on the set like zip. Like it, love it, need it, bad. Take it, own it, steal it, fast. The boy stop playing, grab my ass. Why you acting like you shy? Shut it, save it, keep it pushing. Why you beating round the bush and knowing you want all this woman? Never knock it till you try. All of them saying I have you with me. All of my saying you mad committed. Really to anybody you had them pretty. All of the body I need out.
It is now time for What in the World? We have Laura in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yay. How are you? Oh, jinx. Now we can't speak for
Okay. Well, that's a problem.
Yeah,
that's a little
radio.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
How are you? What's going on?
It's just end of a busy week.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's same for me. I've been really tired. My roommate is no longer living in our house for most of the week. So either the roommate is in Seoul or in Japan.
Oh, really? I was going to
means-
say, did you kick out the roommate? Is there something going on? No. For work.
For work. So the mini roommates are driving me insane.
Oh.
In a nice way.
Are you sure? I'm like,
let's move along.
Yeah.
Let's move along immediately. But anyway, no, it's been busy. Glad it's Friday. Definitely.
Yes, absolutely. Well, hopefully, these stories will lift all our moods, I hope.
Yes.
Yes.
So I've got a couple of stories. This is What in the
Yes.
World. So the stories are interesting, uplifting. One of them is a little bit polarizing.
Oh.
But I want to talk about it because I think it's an important issue.
Sure.
And then if you don't have this, but I'm going to quickly brief you down with a final story that makes me
No
so
problem.
angry.
Oh, no.
It's going to incite a revolution.
Why don't we
Maybe.
say the
Or
good
maybe
one for the
not.
last one?
No, this is the good one. I'm just kidding. It's
Really?
it's just a weird one.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Here we go.
First one, I want to make a big congratulations to Lloyd Martin.
Who is Lloyd Martin?
Lloyd Martin is a young man. He's 19 years old. He lives with the condition Down syndrome. And he has accomplished a remarkable feat because he is the first youngest person ever to do so in his category for the London Marathon. It's never been done before.
Marathon.
And so he just achieved a Guinness World Record.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, if you can even finish a marathon, I think it's a great feat.
Listen, I'm right there with you.
I mean, really? A half marathon, a quarter marathon, whatever you want to call it.
Are not working with any kind of, difference of ability, if you're not working with any limitations, finishing a marathon is like...
That's like on like everybody's bucket list, is it not? Like, at least once before you die.
And so, obviously, he lives with Down syndrome, so that poses a number of different conditions, and many of them are unique to the person as well. So despite these challenges that he faced, he was resilient and he was determined, and he was running with his mother, who has already run 4 marathons.
Oh my gosh.
So he's got good inspiration. She's done the London twice, Boston once, and Chicago version of the Boston Marathon.
Okay.
Which apparently is a thing. I don't know. But yeah, so he got proper training, and there's an organization who it's for people who live with disabilities but want to compete in these kind of like long distance endurance sports. So there's an organization in the UK. They helped him with the training that would be really specific to his needs. And so he trained, he was presented with this Guinness World Record plaque at the finish line, and yeah, just a beautiful story of inclusion, of support and determination.
And I like that Guinness had it ready for him at the finish line.
At the end. And he's like coming through. The video is so sweet. And you see him at the finish line, obviously exhausted. But just obviously so elated, and everybody's supporting him. And I think that's wonderful.
Yes. Lloyd Martin.
All abilities.
Yes.
All abilities, making it possible. All right, we're going to change. By the way, I brought you a gift today.
What is that?
I can't really say the name of it.
Oh, okay.
Busan butter and honey caramel.
Oh.
바다.
What's the occasion?
The occasion is Friday.
Oh, I can't hold it up, but
so don't hold it up. But yeah, you can eat that later.
I'll cover. Thank you.
But you can share it. I mean,
of course,
to share it.
We'll share it.
Do you want?
Yes.
Next question. Next
story. Yes.
So this one could be a little bit sensitive. And there's a reason. Now, I'm not going to get into any of the controversial parts of it.
Okay. You're reporting on a story.
We're reporting on a story,
yes.
and we're reporting on a story that is a first in this region, and for good reason.
Okay.
Because a Peruvian psychologist has made history as she's the first person to die by euthanasia in Peru. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, euthanasia is the process of choosing to no longer live, basically. So choosing to end one's life. It is legal in many countries.
But we're talking in Peru.
We're talking in Peru. Now, in most of Latin America, it is illegal. It was decriminalized. Let me double check. There's 2 places where it has been decriminalized in Latin America. However, most places, it's not legal.
Right. And it's not just like the legal ramifications, but like, I don't want to speak on behalf of, this person, but most people who live in Latin America, not all, are Roman Catholic. So.
Yes. And which, that's a huge sin.
Yes.
It's considered a huge sin in the Catholic Church to take your own life.
Sure.
However, let me tell you a bit of background about this particular case. Now, Ana Estrada, she's a Peruvian psychologist. She passed away by euthanasia after battling an incurable disease that left her bedridden for years. Now, this lady was incredibly brave, and she campaigned to have her right to die with dignity.
Yes.
Because she said, I am no longer the woman that I used to be. I am in pain.
Yes.
I cannot live the life that I want to live. She said, I have no freedom. And so her battle with this, she suffered from something called polymyositis, which is a degenerative muscle disease, basically, which progressively weakens your muscles, and left her bedridden. She wasn't able to live a life, right? However, despite that, she did pursue her career in psychology. She advocated for the right to die with dignity, not just for herself, but through like for many other people who are facing similar terminal conditions, who are going through situations that is, very much life impairing. But there's such huge controversy around this, and even for me, I'm like, I understand why she wants to do it, but then if you start making it legal, then what are the ramifications?
Exactly.
Of that? And what are the loopholes that people can go through?
And then there's this whole issue in like certain countries, like why is this available only for people with terminal illnesses? Why can't I just choose to do it on my own anyway? Right, with dignity.
And so there's so many different alleyways that we could go down for why this is controversial. However, I think the most important thing is that talking about death is something that traditionally people have shied away from. And in this aging society and super aging society, I think we need to bring this question of dying with dignity and well death and well aging. And have you ever heard of a death doula?
A death doula? I've heard of like a birth doula.
So a birth doula is someone who helps you bring life into the world when you are a pregnant lady. A death doula is someone who stays with you and cares for you as you're leaving the world.
Wow.
And provides that emotional support, mental support, tools to process what's happening, tools to process grief, loss, worrying about leaving people behind. And so it's a very, very big step for Peru, but it's also sparking more decisions about end of life choices, human dignity, etc.
Interesting story though.
Really interesting, and I hope that it's not depressed anybody, because I think she's very inspiring and definitely made a lot of good changes in her field, but of course still a big discussion, and
of course
no opinions here, but okay, finally, I know you don't have this, how much do you love ice cream?
I love ice cream.
How much do you love eating in the street?
In the street?
I mean, not just like in any street, but like if you're out on holiday and you're like, woo, 분위기 좋다, and you get an ice cream when you're walking down the street.
Get a nice gelato, right? Oh no.
Milan has proposed a ban on late night ice cream.
What?
To preserve tranquility.
Why? Because are people getting drunk off ice cream?
No, not just ice cream. But what's happening is they're considering, it's going to be a law, a new law, to prohibit the sale of ice cream and other foods.
Okay,
pizza,
not just ice cream.
Outside foods, etc. To maintain the peace and quiet of its residents. So after midnight,
no food. It's not just ice cream. I was going to say
in the streets. But Milan is very famous for these outdoor eateries, restaurants, amazing street culture.
Of course.
But the residents are like, keep it down out there.
We're done.
So the deputy mayor wants to strike a balance between the socializing but also the peace of the residents. And so they have some good specific hours outlined. They're thinking 12:30 on weekdays, 1:30 on the weekend. No more food outside, no more tables outside. You can still be in a restaurant, but you're just not allowed to be outdoor seating.
I see. That I can get behind, because like if I lived in an area where there was just constant people like tourists. We love tourists. We love the economy.
We love them.
Yes, we love the stimulation to the economy. At the same time, I mean, we want to go to bed though.
We're like, what?
I know.
Yeah.
Like there are times of the year where I like on purpose, like I avoid like even going, like during 벚꽃 season, 달맞이, I don't take the main road. I take the back road because
달맞이 가지 마세요.
Like during, to avoid certain spots. But we love tourists.
We love tourists, but there has to be a balance. Of course, there has to be a balance. We don't want to be in a situation where over tourism is damaging the local economy, damaging the local living conditions. And this actually happened in 2013. They tried to ban it, but they were like, no, give us our ice cream.
Okay, but it's back.
It's back.
All right.
So, yes.
We're going to call it a wrap, but thank you for the lovely stories. Lots of food for thought, and we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Laura.
Bye.
All right, it's time to wrap things up for today, for the entire week. So I bid all of you farewell. Have a wonderful one. It's going to be great weather-wise, and I'll check in, and you'll check in with me on Monday. Bye, everybody. This is 매력 있어 by 악동 Musician. Bye.
매력있어 내가 반하겠어 다이어트 중 마주친 치킨보다 더 매력있어 어쩔 땐 바삭한 어쩔 땐 매콤한 반전의 그대여 매력있어 내가 반하겠어
뜨기요 해장 미소 보다 더 매력있어 겨울밤 뜨끈한 오뎅 국물보다 매력있어 내 어떤 면이 도대체 내 맘을 따뜻하게 하는지 해장 미소 보다 더 매력있어 크지 않는 눈 똑똑하지 않은 코 하지만 이게 뭐야 난 내게 빠져버렸어 도대체 뭐야 날 이렇게 만든 이 정체가 뭐야 마법사 마술사 아니 뭐대사 매력 학과라도 전공하셨나 어서 벗어 뷰감진 어서 벗어 매력 있는 자들만 탈 수 있는 콜럼버서 타고난만의 매력을 이 세상 저 세상에 어필해 어서 벗어 뷰감진 어서 벗어
따뜻한 번에 내 눈에 들었어 내가 찜꽁했어 햇볕 아래 사막 오아시스보다 눈에 띄었어 이런 메마른 내 맘을 죽여줄 단비 같은 그대여 매력있어